Okay, I'm now recording. There are 6 people waiting. I'm letting them all in.
He made you realize that when you think your glass is half empty, come on, your glass is half full.
Hi everyone. Just going to do a quick run around to see if everyone can see and hear Sachin and me. Please use the chat to respond. If everyone can see and hear us clearly, please let us know in the chat. And may I also request everyone keep your mics muted until such time as you're speaking. It'll just help avoid any cross chatter. I'm muting everyone's mic by default at the moment. Right, so I've muted everyone's mics, but if you can hear me, if you can see Sachin and me clearly, please confirm that in the chat. Right, so I've got a confirmation from Sachin. I see we've got Achal, Batri Vishal, Shant. I'm not sure who that is, but that says Chaos Structure Sales, Colin Hutton, and Kanchan. Hi, Anshul. Anshul, if you can hear me, if you can see Sachin and me, please let us know. Same for everyone else. You'll see a list of buttons. Great. So I've got a confirmation from Batri. Thank you, Shant. Thank you. I'm assuming when you say you can see me, you can hear me as well, because that's obviously in response to me saying that. So I'll just take that as a confirmation. Thank you, Batri. Great. Awesome. Awesome. A few people here, I can't see mics against your name. So you may have to check on the sound settings on your system just to make sure that you can speak when you want to. This is next to Kanchan, Colin, and again, Chaos Structure Sales. I also have someone logged in as admin. I'm not sure who that is. Perhaps that's the default user setting on your computer. You might want to change that label so we know who you are, or you could drop a message in the chat to let us know how we should refer to you.
And just to let you know, you can rename yourself by clicking those 3 dots at the top of your profile card. When you click on that, you should see, as I see, an option to rename. So you should be able to do that. If you have any trouble, you can always reach out. It's not the end of the world to have admin, but we'd still love to have your name.
Okay, so Sudhindra, thank you. If you could just follow the instructions that Sachin just put on, it'll just be helpful keeping track of everyone. If you could just click those 3 dots on the top right of that little icon where your name appears as admin right now, you can correct that name. So we've got a few more people logging in, and I'm just admitting them as we go along. Once again, a few people, I don't see mics against your name, so you may not be able to speak when you want to. Could you just check your sound settings on your system for that? Right. Hi, Aditya. We can see you. Aditya, if you can see and hear us clearly, just let us know in the chat, please. All right. Great. Great. So we're 3 minutes ahead of the scheduled start. All good, Aditya. And thank you for that sound check. We can hear you. Okay, Sudhindra, I saw your message, so I've just corrected your name on the screen appropriately.
Just a heads up that we have about 15 people, but we have messages also on other platforms just informing us that another 12 to 13 people are going to get on now. So we'll just wait for maybe 3 to 4 minutes past the start time to let people get on, so we don't have a context problem where we lay out the context and then folks miss that. Yeah, so just to give you a little heads up that at the very latest, we'll start at 2:05.
Great. In the meantime, if somebody else wants to do a sound check, hi Samir, we can see you. If anyone else wants to do a sound check, you can unmute your mic and just give us a 1, 2, 3 hello, whatever it is, and we'll let you know if we can hear you.
Hi, Badri here. Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi Badri, loud and clear. Can hear you.
Thank you.
Just important to know that the chat is a function that we will be using in this webinar, because we will be doing a round of contact detail exchanges so people know how they can reach out to folks. So do check your chat. You should be able to see right at the pretty visible icon, but you should note that the chat has some settings. It allows you to public broadcast everyone by clicking on everyone, or send specific messages. So just be mindful of that as we go along, because you may want to use it differently in this process. So that's the only thing you need to watch out for. Wouldn't expect you all to do any screen shares at this point in time or anything more complicated. So, most important thing is the chat.
Okay, we've got a few more people who've just joined in the past couple of minutes. Once again, if anyone wants to do a quick sound check, hi Ayush, we can see you clearly. Ayush, you want to do a quick sound check?
Yeah, it's Geeta and Sundar from Crack.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, got that. Thank you.
Hi, this is Ayush Srivastav. I hope I'm audible to everybody.
Loud and clear, Ayush. Thank you.
Yeah, and this is Venkatraman from Cripsy Technologies.
Hi, Venkatraman. We can hear you clearly. Thank you for that. Everyone, just as a quick reminder, when you do speak and when you're finished, do remember to mute your mics as well. We've got a fairly healthy attendance here, which is also an invitation to chaos if everyone starts speaking simultaneously. So once you're done speaking, just mute your mic.
Hi, Achal here.
Hi, Achal, loud and clear.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm glad you could join us, Anchal.
I'm glad that I could be a part of it.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Shant this side.
Hi, Shant. We can hear you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, at some appropriate point in time, probably also good to check, and I can do that whether everyone's comfortable with the recording. We are going to be recording this so that this is available as an informational resource to anyone who missed it, even though we are having 2 other participant webinars next week and the week after that. But I think maybe we should check. What do you think?
Yeah, we are going to make a recording of this, as Sachin said, and make this available for other people who may have the same or similar questions as yourself. So perhaps you can just give us a yes in the chat if you're okay with that, everyone. And if you're not, a no. All right.
And if you're not okay with that, I really don't see what we can do, because we can't stop recording. So you're welcome to the opinion, but I don't know how to solve for that, because we want it to be an informational resource.
All right. Okay. So mostly yeses so far. That's a relief. Okay. We've got 3 more people waiting. I'm going to let them in. Okay, Sudhindra, I see your mic is unmuted, but we haven't been able to hear you. So you want to do a quick check once again? Yeah, Sudhindra, if you're trying an audio check, nothing's coming through at the moment.
Hello, you're able to hear me?
Yeah, now we can. Thank you.
Awesome. We have 23. I think we'll just give it maximum a couple more minutes. We're at 2 or 3 on my screen. I'm reminded of that the asking people for their opinion reminds me of this story where I was in a conference very recently, and someone said, is it okay if I refer to everyone as folks? And this brief moment where a couple of people said no, and then there was this awkward pause. No one really knew. Does that mean we won't address you as folk, but what about the rest? So I am reminded of that. Hopefully this won't be an issue here. Yeah. Shan says GDPR compliance without user consent. Brilliant.
Okay, everyone, just once again, as a reminder, especially for those who may have come in a little later, some of your login labels, the names that everyone else can see, carry names. I can see a Vivo 1804, I can see someone's iPhone, I can see a Chaos Truck Sales, etc. Maybe because of the device you're using or some login associated with that device. If you just move your cursor over your name in that little black square where your name appears, 3 white dots will appear in a tiny blue box towards the top right. You can click on that and rename yourself so that we have your actual name, and that would be very helpful. Yep.
Bhavan, one last administrative question. As we get started, if more people come in, will they come in directly into the room or you'll have to let them in?
Well, we'll find out. Not exactly.
Because there's a possibility that folks will stay, if there's a sort of holding area, that might be something to watch out for.
I'll let them know.
Okay, great. So 2:05, let's get started. I think it's, we want to use our time well. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon if you're in India, and good morning and good evening if you're elsewhere in other time zones. I know that there are a few people who are logging on at rather inconvenient times. Thank you so much. We have a participant webinar next week, which is done keeping in mind US and European times, but this one was potentially a little insensitive. So I'm grateful that you could make it, but we'll try to make sure that the next participant webinar is fairly early next week, early in the week, so you're not disadvantaged. So just brief introduction. My name is Sachin Malhan, and I am one of the organizers of this initiative. I am a co-founder and CEO of HumLab, which is building an innovation ecosystem for law and justice in India. So there's a number of initiatives we're a part of. Agami Prize last year, which is a biennial prize, was the first one. But now we're looking at how we can use the challenge model to really work in certain thematic areas. And ADR is a classic example of that. Bhavin and I are sort of co-founders in this initiative. Bhavin's, I'm just going to introduce Bhavin because we don't want to have a very long period of introductions right in the beginning. But Bhavin is also one of the partners at Bayside Tech, which works on issues of legal and tech and increasingly privacy in India. So the purpose of this webinar is threefold. One is to give you some context for what this initiative is. And you may already have it through the website, but still, give you some context and also tell you where critical information about this initiative is being published. It's very important. New information is being put out every day because we are responding to feedback. For instance, information on the exact quantum and nature of the prepayment that the first super user, which is ICICI Bank, will be doing, has been put up today on the main page, because people want to know how much is this first prepayment. What is this sort of upfront amount that the institution will have to work with as they build it out? So, information is being put up every day, and we want to make sure that you are plugged in. So I think rather than giving you all the information, I am re-emphasizing how important it is to track the website and track, LinkedIn and Twitter. Probably if you're tracking the website, you don't need to track LinkedIn and Twitter that much, but because we are trying to keep all key information on the website, but it's important to make sure that you check in on the website frequently. So one is establishing context today, which we'll do. We'll spend some time establishing context. The second is an introductory piece where we want all the people who are on this webinar to be able to introduce themselves and their organizations. And this has to be done briefly. But the point of this introduction is that we want to create opportunities for people to connect with each other. As you all know, it is possible for an individual organization to apply in the challenge and say, that we are well equipped to build this institution, so we should be selected to build this institution and to run it, of course. But I think it's pretty obvious that an institution like this will require a set of resources and skills that it's unlikely a single institution will have. So it's very important to form collaborations and really come together as consortiums and apply as a consortium, saying, okay, we'll collaborate with this organization that's good in technology while we are good in the practice, whatever that combination might be. So to aid in the formation of that consortium, the introductions become important because many people don't know who else is out there. So we want to really have introductions so you can connect. So, and the format of these introductions will be simple. You provide your name, you mention your organization, and then you provide a brief introduction of what your organization does. This has to be done in a minute because we are going to try to do this for close to 30 people. And we have to run a tight ship in terms of doing this within, say, 35 to 40 minutes at the most. Then we want to create space for a Q&A where people are asking clarificatory questions, providing us feedback in terms of how we can run the process better. So 3 portions: context setting, which is really short. I'll provide the basic overview, round of introductions, Q&A, and then, happy to, if we have some time left over, happy for the Q&A to spill over, or we can wind up relatively early. So that's the flow. I won't take any feedback at this point in time. I will just get started because there's going to be enough time for people to weigh in with questions and feedback. Okay. So yes, 2:10. Let me just start with a brief overview. So I think it's important to understand that the EADR challenge is actually a part of a larger initiative, which is the initiative to build the EADR institution. So the challenge is in service of the quest to build this EADR institution. And the EADR institution, what is envisaged, is an independent, neutral institution, largely operated through a digital platform, which allows for tens of thousands of disputes to be solved in using a variety of dispute resolution techniques. Could be mediation, could be arbitration, could be just machine settlement at some point in the future, could be even just literacy about the dispute. So we're really looking at a solution for the future, a solution that can address tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of disputes using a variety of dispute resolution mechanisms. And the way it operates at that scale is by being in a platform, by being an aggregator. So insofar as arbitration, it will seek to directly impanel arbitrators. Of course, arbitrators at various levels of experience and expertise, because there's, currently in India, arbitration has become a fairly elite process, expensive. And so, but here, if suppose someone has a small dispute, you can't have. So we have to reimagine what it means to be a qualified arbitrator for the purposes of these categories of disputes, or various categories of disputes. So while the platform seeks to directly impanel a variety of arbitrators across the country, insofar as mediation and other processes, it could directly impanel, but also allow other platforms to plug in, other centers to plug in and provide their services on that platform. So it becomes, in that sense, an aggregator. And the idea behind building it as this kind of institution is that we want to ultimately look at something. It doesn't have, there could be many other initiatives like this, which would be so welcome. But we want this to be something that really helps the field grow as a whole, because it forces certain things like, questions of standards training, forces us to understand dispute types better, and so on and so forth. And I think one of the most promising things about this effort to build this institution is that you have a potential super user like ICICI Bank, which has said, we commit to referring several thousand of our disputes day one onto the system. And we not just will we do that, we will prepay and fee estimate for the resolution of those things, so that that institution has capital, has that money available to build itself out. So it's not hitting the ground and trying to deal with the scale of disputes without any resources. Of course, the institution might raise more money, may raise more resources that it may choose to do, but it has that prepayment amount. So that's the just the design of the institution. And there are many elements there which have been more clearly addressed in the specifications that have been put out. So if you go to the website, to the EADR challenge page, one of the most important things is the website, which has the specifications. Of course, in India, you can't do anything without some construction happening nearby. So please don't mind if you hear background noise. It's absolutely a joke. But let me just 1 second. Let me see if I can resolve that. Okay, hopefully this will not become a major distraction. At this point in time, some grandmother close by has decided to pull out a bolt gun and decide to drill some holes in the wall somewhere. So anyway, so the first thing is to consider the nature of this institution, and the specifications of this institution, of course, are set out very clearly, right? And these are draft specifications. The challenge is a mechanism to source feedback about that specification, but also to invite the application of teams that say, we are well positioned to build this institution and to operate this institution. That's the purpose of the challenge. So that's the reason why the challenge puts out the specifications, the draft specifications, and requires you to weigh in on them. And when you apply to say we are equipped to build out this institution, you are responding to those specifications. You're responding to, you're saying, here's how we would do it. And here's how we are well equipped to solve for it. So that's the sequence. So till the end of March, we hope that the challenge process helps to collect feedback and also identify the team that is going to be building and operating this institution. So that's, and then after that, beginning of March, maybe mid-March onwards, is a development phase where that consortium, which has been selected to build out this institution, is working with all the other collaborators, various organizations that want to see this being realized, and ensuring that the institution that does launch in August is true to that intent and truly serves as a platform that can work for the good of multiple stakeholders, as opposed to being some kind of parochial initiative that is, again, stuck with a limited mindset coming from one community. So just important things to consider: the overall initiative, the challenge that is the goal of which is in service of that larger initiative, key information being available on the website, the specifications being a critical document that everyone should reflect on, because at the end of the day, we'll be announcing the application process soon. So we'll be talking about how you can apply. And that will really require teams to respond to that specification, to say how they would implement some of these things, what they agree with and what they disagree with also. They may propose something new in terms of implementing some aspects. So that's the gist of this initiative and the purpose of the challenge. I think maybe a couple of things that I can talk about is 2 points of feedback that have come up very quickly from people so far, which I think is useful to share, because it's no use not mentioning this and then that coming up later in the Q&A. The first thing is people saying, we're interested, but we don't know how to go about we don't know how to go about collaborating with others and really building a consortium to apply. So how do we do that? And our response has been and is that we will play a role in facilitating that. And the way we can do that, we can't go all the way in that. At the end of the day, we can just provide a nudge, we can provide information, and you have to go out there and build your partner collective, your consortium. But we can play a role in nudging that. One is events like this, which introduce people to each other and which open up information so you can reach out, learn about people, and then decide, is there someone you want to approach to collaborate with? So that's one thing. This webinar is one. There is going to be a webinar every week now for the next 3 weeks that are the operating open period of this challenge. So that's one thing that is there. The second thing is we will be asking if all the contact information across the different webinars can be socialized. So the contact information can be socialized to everyone. So everyone who has signed up to be potential applicants, so that you have a kind of database that you can research and reach out to. The other thing we're doing is we put out a guide to building a consortium. So we looked at some best practices and we actually linked a guide that we've created on the website. So you can actually read that guide, and it's not too dense. It's tried to pull out the core principles of what it means to build a suitable consortium. The other thing we're doing is we are introducing a new phase in the process, which is by the end of the month, we will actually request people to confirm who's interested in applying as individuals, not as indicative of the consortium. So that body of people who want to apply, who will apply regardless, whether they are in a consortium or not, we will then have that list and do maybe some more active getting to know, getting to share, so that we can curate that group and help to create the consortium, the consortiums that become the applicants to this challenge. So that's the first thing. The first feedback we received is on help to create these teams. Very small example, there's an ADR center, fairly well recognized university that, definitely wants to apply, but they need to collaborate they need help on the technical side. They're like, we don't know how to build a platform, but we can definitely come in with our networks. We can build more networks of ADR professionals. We can do training. We can do so many things. We want to be a part of this, but we need help. So that's an example of, that's the first thing, that feedback that's come to us. The second feedback that's come to us and is specifically on the technical side of things. Some people who are interested in applying come with a great depth of technical expertise. They are software providers, they're platform providers, but others are not. And so what we've done is that we are going to announce in just a couple of days 3 of the leading international technology companies as support partners for this initiative. What that means is they are saying people can, essentially, if people are willing to use our tools, we can come in and actually help to develop these solutions. We can actually provide a range of support services. So in the next couple of weeks, we'll be having presentations by some of these technology support partners, that's what they're called, which familiarize people to the tools that they're offering, the features of their support packages. So people can take calls in terms of whether they want that kind of help from some of these companies. So that's another dimension of a response the way we are kind of responding to the needs that are there. And of course, we will continue to listen and provide more information as and when you need it. So I'm going to stop at this point in time. Maybe what we will do is I'm receiving a request whether we can do the Q&A session before the introductions. So let's do that. Let's do the Q&A session before we do the introductions. Let's spend the next 40 minutes on a Q&A, and then let's spend the remaining half an hour. Hopefully, if we can do Q&A in 30 minutes, I'd like to keep at least 40 minutes for the introductions. I think that's really important. So let's do that. It's 2:20 now. Till 2:50, we can do a Q&A and a clarificatory thing, and then switch over immediately into a introduction session. So please feel free. The way to do this is that you can ask a question by just, Bhavan, would the best way be just to put it in the chat saying, I have a question? Or how do we do that?
Yeah, I think just to sort of maintain some semblance of order, might be a good idea to leave your question in the chat. Moderator will pick it up and start taking it on one by one. If you need to speak, or if Sachin wants to sort of clarify some things with you, remember by default, everyone's mics are muted. You'll have to hit unmute on the mic icon next to your name before everyone else will be able to hear you. So drop your questions in the chat. If you need to have a conversation, if moderator asks for you to speak, remember to unmute yourself.
Okay, great. So we have first one from Shant Birwal. Shant, your question is that, is there some minimum commitment from ICICI Bank with respect to the business which they are going to commit? I can actually do something. I can just drop the link in right now. If you see the website has a section called, on the page, on the EADR challenge page, we've just we provided this link. So I'm just going to paste that link here. that link is the elaboration of the nature and quantum of the prepayment that is there. So just be mindful that there is a section on the main page, and Bhavin has already linked our EDR challenge page, section called ICICI Bank as one of the first prepaying users. That has a couple of paras, but then you've got this link here, which I have shared, which details out the nature and quantum of the payment. Okay. So yeah, I hope that adequately answers Shan's question. Let's turn to Badri's question. Is any team already set up that people need to join hands with, or everything happens from scratch over the journey? It happens from scratch. It happens from scratch, which is you will have to build your consortium. So it happens from scratch. There is no pre-set up team. The only interesting thing is that if you feel really strong about everything, say but the technology, or you're strong and you have even technical competence, good technical competence, but you think you need help to develop something, if you don't already have it, then you could connect with any of the technology support partners. So to that extent, they are there. But you have to start from scratch. That's the reality of this. And of course, if people, if there are already existing solutions, which there are many of, then there is that they already have at least a software solution. At least that part is dealt with. But it's important to consider, if you read the specifications, that this is not just a technology play. The institution, the consortium that builds this needs to have various capacities within itself. Technical, the ability to build that ecosystem of providers that it can aggregate in terms of mediators, arbitrators, so relationships and ability to build relationships with centers all over. Then the entrepreneurial and managerial aspect to be able to lead an initiative like this. And maybe it is possible that you don't have all these capabilities. That is totally normal, but at least 70 to 80% of the critical capabilities should be there. Otherwise, the consortium will look weak if it's just got one aspect and then you seek to apply with that one aspect. We've had a question where some people have said that we have one aspect which is very, very strong. Can we apply on our own? You can apply on your own. And you can mention that you would like to be placed within another consortium or one of the shortlisted consortium or something like that. But this is a consensual process. The consortia may not take you in, if you apply on your own and then, you want to be placed later. So you have to do some upfront work to build the right teams that need to be built. Let me go ahead with the questions. Ayush's question, do we get access to end users for more details on specific use cases and issues they have with respect to dispute resolution? Example, loan defaults. What tools do they use currently? What workflows do they follow? This will be necessary to better plan our solutions. Ayush, you asked $1 million question. It's a very, very important question. Here's the thing, two things. One is, yes, it's important that we do want to provide a little more information about this. So, this is a dynamic thing. How much information can we get and provide in terms of you understanding the users and what's happening? So the short answer is we're doing a little bit of that now. We're planning to do. It may not be enough, and we want your voice to be strong as regards what more you need. So that's one thing. Let that be a live issue, okay, as regards how much is needed. The second thing is that while ICICI Bank is the kind of first super user, the nature of disputes might vary. There might be organizations, there are some organizations who are interested whose dispute is more of an e-commerce variety or a retail dispute. So the use cases could be quite different. And also needs to be kept in mind that this cannot become so zoned into one particular use case that becomes a limitation. So just keep that in mind, that you need information to really make sure that you nail this use case and kind of use cases well enough. But you also need to ensure that this institution is built for a wide variety of use cases. So let's treat your question as one of those open questions, because we don't know if the information we do provide is going to be enough about the users, and we want to hear from you and then respond to that and maybe reach back out to ICICI Bank and see if they can provide more information. So let's keep that as a slightly open question.
I think just Supplementing that answer and clubbing that with Ayush's next question, which is this will also be relevant to answer questions like whether you need an on-premise development or a cloud-based solution, etc. Bear in mind that the specifications that have been shared with everyone already are intended to provide some sort of a scaffolding for a dispute resolution system generally. The dispute resolution system that you build should be capable, as Sachin pointed out, of being able to handle disputes that may be related to various subject areas. Loan defaults is something that we know about from the very beginning because we have a user that is committed to using the institution as soon as it is created. But I would urge everyone who's thinking about how to design the system to focus more on the dispute resolution side of it, how you would build a system that is compliant with the requirements under the Arbitration and Conciliation Act, as well as any other laws that might be applicable. As a small sort of reassurance to everyone, we have had the chance to consult with about 17 leading practitioners in the field of arbitration and dispute resolution at the time of framing the specifications to ensure that what we're talking about is broadly acceptable. I also notice a few later questions about the enforceability of awards or decisions of any manner emerging from this institution. Yes, certainly the initial contract on the basis of which the dispute arises will have to incorporate the relevant clauses and to ensure that there is language that reflects that any decision would be binding. So any user like ICICI Bank would have to put that in place with any loan contracts as they go along. Yes, again, the volume will probably pick up as you go along because contracts would be executed now and they would go through the typical contract life cycle and disputes would arise down the line. But there is work underway to try and see that there is enough business for the institution from the beginning. So don't worry too much about on-premise, cloud-based, etc. All of that. Remember, focus on the dispute resolution structure. Focus on ensuring there is no appearance of conflict at all. So as an immediate reaction, I'm not sure how an on-premise solution would work because that would be on-premise with one of your disputants, which you may want to avoid, except for certain non-critical aspects of the entire journey. Back to you, Sachin.
Just mindful of time, so I'm going to move through a little bit quickly. If you have leftover stuff, you can always follow it up later with us directly. So there's another important question from Venkat around, are the consortium partners expected to source additional capital and for setting up the institution and running it as a business? What support would the support partners get during the initial phase? So Venkat, it's a really great question. If you see this ICICI Bank clarification, you'll see an important piece there where in that link, the bank prepayment details, they talk about the fact that the organization that intends to make such a prepayment may do so on the incorporation of the entity managing the ADR institution or at the stage of the launch of the functional platform. So the point is that there is a substantial degree of flexibility and a recognition that the prepayment amount needs to come in so that the institution can build itself to service the disputes. So there is that recognition that we want to make sure that the consortium doesn't run into a situation where it lacks the resources to actually develop the institution, right? So that is something that we are mindful of and we are aiming to solve for, so that it's not as if it's only at the time of the launch of the institution that the prepayment amount is coming, but upon the selection of the consortium, maybe some milestone that the consortium hits together, that the prepayment amount comes. So that will become a form of capital to be able to do the work. Now, even given that, if there is some need for fundraising, the question is for the consortium that if you have the confidence that you will get that larger prepayment amount, that you can tap other forms of finance as well. And you will be able to show them that there is a large client that is already lined up, maybe multiple clients that are already lined up. So that's the answer to the question, which is that, our hope is that you can calibrate your work in such a way that the ICICI prepayment is early enough to address the capital need. But at the same time, there's a judgment call to be taken whether additional funds could still be required to cover some bridge time or over and above the ICICI prepayment amount. It ties to Sameer's question of, do we need to first register a consortium or a company before applying? Sameer, in the consortium building guide, there are some inputs here, which is, it may not make sense we are actually suggesting a more simple memorandum associated thing where you get into an agreement with the people through a memorandum of understanding, and then only when the consortium is selected do you look at legal structuring and stuff, and we can always help with that. So there are multiple other partners who can help with getting things to land. But the biggest problem is that once you get selected, if expectations are not clear, if roles haven't been defined to some extent, there's great scope for misunderstanding. So that's something. So no need to register any entity right up front. But you could do that once a selection has happened. I think it will be much more constructive that way. Just moving on, I know there are many questions. From Shrifani, how the proceedings through the forum creates legally binding? I think Bhavin has answered that. There's a very detailed legal process that we have, detailed legal vetting that we have done. Bhavin, we can share more information about that if you so require. But there's a very detailed kind of validation of the process that we have done. I'll leave it to Bhavin to follow up separately with you and share more information. Shant says, is there going to be any investment by Umidyar? I've answered that question, Shant, which is that right now we're looking at this. The institution is free to raise more money. There are wonderful partners in that kind of community that is interested in seeing where this goes. But there is a significant prepayment amount that we are hoping takes care of that. Sudhindra says, hello, Sachin. I'm an engineer arbitrator empaneled in many Indian institutional arbitration centers. I'm having considerable experience. How can I participate? That's amazing, Sudhindra, because the institute will be empaneling arbitrators. It will open up for registration of arbitrators. So provided the institution's quality standards have been met, and obviously you seem very well qualified, but provided those standards have been met, one can directly empanel with that institute and be allocated, automatically allocated disputes to resolve. Shrey has a question. What will be the corporate structure of the ADR platform? I've already answered to some extent, but there's a dimension of this which I haven't answered. So let me just say that, which is that, look, we want this institute to have two aspects here, which is one is we want to tap the entrepreneurial and market demand. So, there's definitely sorry, I have, for some reason, I'm seeing Sangeeta's screen. Bhavin, can I go back to, I think someone has shared their screen accidentally. I'll need to go back to my own screen. Sangeeta, if you can just stop sharing screen, it would be fantastic. Great, thank you.
There may be some mix-up here. I've disabled participant screen sharing. Again, just a reminder, I see a couple of hand raises. Just drop your questions in the chat, please.
Yeah. We're trying to get through all of them. So to your question, Shrey, we think that the institute, and we don't want to presuppose what the institute proposes, but the institute can propose, the consortium can propose a operating entity, so there are two layers. There's an operating entity which can operate just like a company and grow, grow this business, so to say. And there is a governance layer that ensures that this doesn't become just on its own trip, that this is held accountable to the intent of this bigger vision. So we are looking at, how can the governance layer be created in such a way that it has the voice of industry, it has the voice of consumers, it has the voice of the legal community as well. There's flexibility on the structuring of things, but at the end of the day, this is meant to tap the market opportunity, meant to tap the entrepreneurial possibility of building something like this, right? More questions on that, but let me just keep moving forward. Shant, I'm just gonna, there are more questions from you. I'm just gonna see if, I also wanna address some others. So Shant says, would everyone from the consortia need to be present in person for in-person session before the award? I don't think so. I don't think they would have to be present in person. I mean, as long as you mean, because before the award is given. Okay. Shant, I'm not clear about your question. Before the award is given, are you talking about the actual conduct of a dispute resolution? Let's just take this offline. I'll just take this offline with you. I'm not very sure about the exact question. I'm a little confused because arbitrators being a part of the consortia, yes, they can be a part of the consortia. No problem, but there may be conflict issues later down the line if they're also providing services on the platform. So we'll need to address that aspect. Let's just take it offline and deal with that. Bhavin, if you can just make a note of that. how are we supposed to provide business plan if there's not much data available about arbitration market size? Is there any indicative figure you can share about the market? I think we will leave it to you to do a considerable amount of the research. However, what we are doing is in around the first or second week of March, we are trying to put out more data on the availability of arbitrators, availability of mediators. We are trying to put out more data, but we cannot commit that the data we put out will be available before the application process. We want to make sure this data is available definitely for the consortium that actually gets selected to work with the institution. So we are doing a lot of work to support the winning consortium in its execution of that vision. So your plan, your application can focus more on how you would solve this issue and more on your qualifications to do so, rather than a full-fledged business plan that has all the data. We understand that not all the data would be available. Shrifani says, how absence of conflict of arbitrator is ensured? Bhavin, you want to take that just to see if that issues come up before?
Sure. So there are two ways that we're hoping this happens. One is in the selection of the arbitrators themselves, in the sense that we're trying to do away with the typical problems that plague ad hoc arbitration, one of which most prominently is the selection of an arbitrator that may be an employee of one of the disputants. So that is something that you would wish to avoid. The other thing also is that you may wish to put a time gap between the same arbitrator deciding a matter that involves the same disputant. So let's say that there is XYZ Bank and there is an arbitrator who's involved in a dispute with XYZ Bank. You would want to put in rules as a part of your institutional framework which say that that person cannot decide a dispute for XYZ Bank again for another 3 months, 6 months, whatever. But to a large extent, this is left to the way in which you frame the rules of the arbitration institution, or indeed of the ADR institution as a whole.
Bhavin, may I also encourage you to take the next question from Ayush on, do we have any guidance on whether the judiciary will enforce awards passed via ODR?
Right. So as I mentioned a short while earlier, while we don't have any opinions, any signed opinions, if that's where the question is tending towards, we have had the idea of EADR and of the institution vetted by a group of practitioners. We're also hoping to have blessings or a general go-ahead from a small group of judges, both sitting as well as retired, about the concept as a whole. May I say though at this stage that we have not come across any decision where any form of online dispute resolution purely because it is online has been struck down. So there does not seem to be a legal bar to that. There remains a small question, of course, of when the award is challenged, whether it would be upheld in court. Again, as I said, we have not seen any issue which points towards the contrary. We don't see a problem with that. I hope that helps.
Thanks, Bhavin. I'll go to Anchal's question. Anchal says, I have served the arbitral institution in India. It seems that some rule book might be required to develop the system, to be developed to systematize the filing of cases. Absolutely, Anchal. I think an essential part of the institution design, which is once a consortium is selected, the work that needs to be done to develop and roll out the institution will probably be those protocols, those workflows, and the rules of that institution. So that, I think, is a substantial part of the work. There are a lot of best practices that can be taken, so I don't think it's massively time consuming, but that work needs to be done in order to give legs to this institution. Shant also asked another question: can we propose the solution in phases, as depending upon the features that we envisage, may not be possible to cut off all features before August 15th? And if yes, great point, Shant. Absolutely. I mean, look, at the end of the day, once the consortium is selected, the consortium will be the most important voice probably in that kind of collaborative that ultimately develops this. So we want to hear what is proposed in terms of the rollout and stuff. You can certainly feel free to propose things in stages. I think if there's a good case that you make for why certain things should be done in stages, as long as it addresses the use case in the most productive way possible, you shouldn't hesitate to put down phases if that's your intent. You don't have to you don't have to say, what you don't believe, right? So we want you to put your weight behind that, and provided the team has the experience and caliber to pull this off, I don't think that weakens your proposal to say that things should be done in phases. Let me keep going. Sudhindra says, my query is not answered yet. Sudhindra, I actually answered your query explicitly, saying that you can most certainly impanel yourself with the institution that ultimately gets created, provided you meet the standards that are created by the institution. So that's, as someone who is a qualified, experienced arbitrator, there's nothing stopping you from impaneling yourself with this institution once it hits the ground. Arca law says, for the application itself, what is the expectation? Is it to come out with the portfolio and potential of the team, or to come out with the complete idea? If it's B, do we need to have a demo of the site or just a brief of the idea? It is both, in the sense that we want you to respond to the specification, essentially saying, how would you go about doing it? And then to say why you're well equipped to do it, right? So we want both, because we want to see the caliber of your thinking in terms of how you want to address the specification, and then we want to see the caliber of the team, obviously. So now, in terms of, do you need to have a complete idea? I think that, you need to have a mostly complete idea, but it doesn't have to be complete at the cost of, I think that it's very powerful when people say, we don't know how this piece is going to work, but we think it could work like this. I think that's really powerful. It means that you something which is a huge shortfall in India is the I don't know. How many people say I don't know, right? So I don't know is fine. But I don't know needs to be grounded in, I have a lot of experience, or I know a bunch of other things, or I have a process for finding out, right? So the I don't know can't be in isolation. Do you need to have a demo of the site? Well, I think that prototyping things definitely helps. Does that mean you need to have ready software? There are many who could have ready software, and that is fantastic. That's a strong point. But if you don't have ready software, I think you have to go an extra step in prototyping or demonstrating what is it that you can build or you can come together and create. So you can't be one or the other. If you don't have ready or near ready technology, or in your consortium you don't have someone who can offer that, then you definitely need to have a clear idea of what it can be. You can't be completely bereft of that, because if you don't have that at all, then you're weakening your case versus another consortium that has that. Considering the challenges of a wide scope and it was recently announced, would you be willing to extend the deadline to allow time for people to reach out to resource persons and frame the idea? Well, we are certainly open to that, but we want to do it depending on certain milestones. So end of the month, we have a key milestone which will allow us to determine whether people need extra time. For now, you must proceed with the urgency that the present deadline is the present deadline. But we will be listening and doing so constantly and reacting to feedback constantly. Then continuing with the set of questions, Pulki says, what is the difference between 20 years of work experience in ADR, 20 years of work as legal practitioners? Is it possible that a team of collective people having 20 years of work experience as legal practitioners will also be able to fulfill the criteria of 20 years of work experience in ADR? How is one supposed to submit his proposal addressing? So, okay, let me deal with question number 1 and 2 first. Those are related. Let me deal with that. Bhavin, can you just pick that up, Bhavin? And I'll come to question number 3 from Pulki.
Sure. So just to sort of differentiate, see, the idea is that we want to ensure that the eventual consortium that takes this forward has capabilities across various segments. Important to note that the 10 years, 20 years, etc. that we're citing there are collective. On ADR in particular, we want to ensure that there is some collective experience in the team that takes this forward. Now, indeed, a 20 years ADR experience may well also tick the box of 20 years legal experience. Not necessary that it would work the other way around, right? So if you've got 20 years collective experience, legal experience, but no ADR experience in there, then that might be an issue. However, if you've got 20 years ADR experience, that's possible. You might also tick the legal experience box. So I hope that covers that.
And I will just answer Pulki's question on number 3. How is one supposed to submit? Pulki, in a few days, we'll be putting out a very clear guidance on the form of submission. So you don't need to resolve that now. We will be putting up clear guidance on the form of submission, possibly by this Monday. So just a heads up that that's going to happen. And your last question, how is one supposed to demarcate the allocation of funds required to prepare this project? Is it by way of giving one sum as the entire cost? I think that's a really good question. So look, at the end of the day, this is not the institute saying we need this much. And somebody has to give that to us. It's not like that. It's not a vendor situation. The consortium will go on to really be the one to develop and run this institute. So there's a very significant difference there. In many cases, in a classic request for proposal, and this I want every single person to really understand deeply, you have a situation where somebody needs something to be built and you say, I can build it for you. This is different. In this, you're saying, we can build this, not I can build this for you. We can build this. Now, that is different because you'll have to own that solution and play a part in the running of that institute. Now, not everyone in the consortium will be in a position to play a continuing role in the leadership and management of this institution. That's completely understandable. If you're a technology provider, you can help to develop this, but you can't run it beyond a point. You can be a voice in that. We understand those plays, but that means that at least one or two of you, organizations or key people or people need to play a role and need to be capable of playing a role in the development and leadership of this. Why I am mentioning that is because when you say this is what the money that is required, it's almost like you're also mentioning this to the jury and to the collaborative group, the partners. But it's really for yourself. How will you then raise that money, right? You know the incentive that is coming through the ICICI first user relationship. Given that, how would you address the financial needs of this process of developing? It may mean that you say, okay, we think this is a good start. We might need more money, so we will go out and raise more money, and we may need help for that. And of course, everyone is there to help you. There's a pretty influential group of people who are coming together to build this. But you are the central agent. There's no one who's going to say, here's the money. Because we think there's already a very significant first step from ICICI in prepaying what is required. So not a complete answer, I know, but it's just a reframing that's really, really important. Sudhindra says, do we need to be re-empaneled institution? Insofar as arbitrators, yes. Once the institution puts out the certifications, you will need to be empaneled. Mediators can either directly be empaneled or they could go through centers of mediation or other platforms that exist. Other centers and platforms that exist could plug in and deal with matters that come up. Chaos Struct Sales says, expediting the process of arbitration and giving award is one aspect, but execution of award is quite a bigger challenge. So don't you think that if we don't address it, it is going to water down the value and utility? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a very big issue. This is why, just as we began to articulate this project, we spent a lot of time on the legal framework for this. I mean, I have a question for you. All of that research and understanding, is there a way, and this is something for us to take back, is how can we make that more available for people in general? Maybe, which is the form? And I don't expect you to answer it now, but I am seeing that a lot of questions on the legal framework are coming up and will keep coming up. So something for us to consider, how to make more information available about the legal framework. But there's a practical question also, Chaos Struct Sales. I hate calling you that, but I don't know your name. But there's a practical question about the enforcement of awards. And I think that aside from the legal question, we need to carry along the community of judges, the courts. And so I think it's also a trust building exercise. It's also a trust building exercise that if this institute can garner the reputation of being a phenomenally high quality, neutral, independent organization, then that also helps over and above the actual legal technical issues. Sangeeta, no worries at all on this. Don't worry. Not many of us haven't used Zoom, so it's always a learning.
And also just add in a statement here, we will, of course, we'll try and figure out a way to share, as such said, some of the research that we've already done. But this question is one of the reasons why we're saying that we need to have someone with some amount of legal expertise or some amount of legal experience as well, so that you can help the institution frame its rules, frame its mechanisms, its procedures in such a manner that the awards are able to withstand challenge in court. The matter of enforcing the awards, etc., of course, remains, and that remains with any form of arbitration or dispute resolution. To that extent, we cannot guarantee everything right at the outset, but at least in terms of the award being able to withstand challenge, that is one of the reasons we need to ensure that the consortium that is eventually selected has somebody who can guide the institution and ensure that there is no or very limited possibility of any challenge being upheld in court at all.
Thank you. And if I may just say, we are coming up on time for the Q&A, and we need to switch to a very important introduction session. No question will be forgotten. So even if you miss a question, we will take those questions, reply as text, and share that mailer back with everyone. Okay? So please don't be concerned about that. I'll take 2 more questions, and then we'll switch over to introductions. Sangeeta asks, what will be the enforceability of settlements to the present ADR process? Sangeeta, it should not be any different from the enforceability of mediated settlements right now. It should not be, as long as it's a settlement signed by both parties, there should be absolutely no difference in terms of the enforceability as it exists now. Any unique concerns that you may have, please do share them. As Bhavin has said, any legal questions can be asked to Bhavin. Pulkit, you've asked a bunch of questions on the ICICI incentive. If your questions are still not answered by that page on which is the new information which we have shared on the ADR challenge page, then we will just take these questions and resolve them via a general communication. Like I said, we'll cut paste them. Otherwise, I think I will spend too much time on that. You also ask about extending the launch date. I think we will deal with that later, right? At this point in time, we will not want to change that. As regards to technical team to develop this, my point is, yes, which therefore means that there must be existing competence or some existing form of a solution that you can work with. If you're thinking of building this from scratch, yes, absolutely. Then the jury must ask the question, is it better to go with a situation where somebody is working with some solution that is already in some ready form versus somebody who's going to develop it from scratch? It'll be a higher bar to demonstrate that even though you'll be developing it from scratch, you are such a powerful combination of people that you can overcome that and you're still the best consortium. As regards extension and those kinds of things, I wouldn't want to address that right now. Let's keep that in mind. Will the EAD looking forward to make its own platform, or is it okay with using a third party or consortium members platform? Absolutely. Absolutely okay. Why would you want to develop from scratch if there are existing solutions that can take you 80% of the way, 70% of the way? Awesome. So, Sangeeta, what's the probability of me joining a consortium and how to apply? Very much up to you. It's not that we are forming the consortium. You have to go out there and see if you want to be a part of an applicant consortium, then you go out there and introduce yourself to people. So that's something I think we want to do. Chaos asks, I'll take one last question. Are we supposed to have mediator empanelment as well from individual? Yes. Independently, mediators can register themselves. There's absolutely no problem. Independently, they can empanel themselves. However, of course, we want this to be a platform that actually supports existing centers grow, existing service solutions grow, so that we are mindful of that as well. We would rather that this becomes an amplifier for existing solutions to demonstrate themselves and be accessible on the platform. I'm at the end of questions. Pulki, I'm mindful that you asked a bunch of questions very specifically on the amount. Let's take that offline, but we'll share that public information. We'll share that publicly back with everyone. Great. Thank you all for your patience. At this point in time, let's do introductions. Here's a suggestion for you. After you introduce yourself verbally, please put that in the chat as well. So just please put that in the chat as well. that would be helpful. So don't have to put the whole thing, just put your name, email address, if you want your phone number, or just your name and email address and the name of your organization in the chat so people can research you and reach out for the purposes of forming the consortium. Let's kick off, the introductions. Remember, we're keeping to 1 minute, everyone, maximum for the introductions. We have to wrap up at 3:30. So I will just call out people and, if you can introduce yourself, just say, here's my name, here's where I'm based, and talk a little bit about yourself or your institution, keeping within 1 minute. Thank you, everyone, and make sure you put in the chat, okay? So let's just kick off. We'll start. I'll just go down the list that I have in front of me. Let's start off with Pulkit. Pulkit, do you want to go first? Pulkit, please unmute yourself first. You'll have to unmute yourself and then start.
Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, you are. A little bit louder, but you are mostly audible.
Okay. So my name is Pulkit Prakash and I'm an advocate. I have an institution of my own named as Niti Bodh. I'm the founding partner of Niti Bodh. And I have worked upon this project earlier as well with Department of Law. The only difficulty with me, which I particularly know, is that if you are trying to build this platform from the scratch, it is really, really not possible in 4 months. That is why I'm very, very concerned at how we are supposed to get it done. That's all.
I understand. Thank you. Pulkit, please make sure you put your contact details down in the chat so people can get in touch with you. Let's go to Sangeeta next. Sangeeta.
Hi, this is Sangeeta Mehrotra. I have been put in 35 years in legal profession, and now I have been doing mostly mediation. That is court-referred mediation from Delhi High Court and the court from Delhi district courts. And I feel that there is, we do not have the enforceability I was talking about. I'm sorry, I think I am deviating. I have already put in my intro in the chat box also. So I'll be going to Bangalore for a commercial mediation workshop. I hope to meet some of you there. I do not know whether it is possible. And I am very, very interested in joining the New Delhi, this meetup, I think. So how to go about it, because it is written that it is only through invites. So I just want to know.
Thank you, Sangeeta. Thank you so much. Let's go Ayush next.
Yeah. Hi guys. So I've sort of already put my brief introduction there. I see there are 25 participants, so I won't take much time. Just wanted to
Ayush, your voice is cutting. Just your voice is cutting. Could you come closer to the mic? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm using the headphones, hopefully it's slightly better now. Is it better? All right.
Better.
So yeah, I've already put in my introduction. I'm really excited for this project. So thanks Sachin and thanks Bhavin for sort of taking the initiative of making this happen. To Pulkit's point earlier, I believe it is something which is very difficult to do, both technically and from a legal point of view. And we will require a lot of us to sort of come together and agree to cooperate to really make this happen. 2 months is a short time, but yes, if we sort of put our efforts together in a reasonable, 4 to 6 months, we should be able to do this. I come from a technical legal background. You can find out more details about me on LinkedIn. I have some sort of a prototype that I've built based on my experience with my last startup, where we built a dispute resolution solution for e-commerce companies. And if there's anybody who'd sort of love to sort of collaborate or figure out ways we can work together, please hit me up on LinkedIn. Really excited to be working on this.
Awesome. That's a great introduction, Ayush. Exactly. People, please try to keep it that template so that enough information and desire to want to connect. Let's go next. Aditya, over to you.
Hi, this is Aditya Shivkumar. I'm the co-founder of Resolve Disputes Online. We are a UK-based company that develops ODR solutions for courts, tribunals, and ADR centers around the world. Looking forward to collaborating with the folks here and happy collaboration.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aditya from Resolve Disputes Online. Let's continue to go further. I think Ayush is already, Ayush is done. So let's go with Akshat. Akshat, over to you. Hi, Akshat. Can you introduce yourself? Akshat Anand.
Sachin, I can introduce. This is Pulkit.
Go for it, Pulkit.
Yeah. So, Pulkit, I'm the founder of ProVakil. We are working on primarily legal data solutions for the legal industry. We have been 3 years into it. Really excited about this challenge. I'll post my contact details and email ID in the chat as well. I think we are one of those teams which we believe are strong on the technology aspect of it, but don't have a lot of experience on the EADR side. So happy to talk to teams who have a ton of experience and are looking for partnership in technology for this, and potentially we could collaborate.
Awesome. Good to have you here, Pulkit. Let's keep going. Aman Sanghvi.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Am I audible?
You're audible now, Aman.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aman Sanghvi. I am the co-founder of Resolve 360. So Resolve 360 is a platform that facilitates online settlement of disputes, whether they are pending in court or at a pre-litigation stage. We mainly use methods like mediation and negotiation to resolve these disputes, and right from raising the dispute to getting a final settlement, all the steps can be conducted online on our platform. So having this platform experienced and having built a platform already, we are quite excited to learn about this challenge from Sachin and the team. I think it's an exciting opportunity in front of us, and looking forward to collaborate. We also have got the recognition from the Ministry of Law and Justice, and we are in constant touch with the government, the judiciary, and the courts, and we sort of liaison with them to ensure that ADR gets the push that it deserves, and looking forward to collaborate with more people out here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aman. Thanks for the introduction. Do put in a version of that on the chat so we can have it for record. Let's continue. Anchal, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi.
Anchal, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I'm Achal. I've worked with the apex arbitral body in India by the name of Indian Council of Arbitration. Of course, we've been doing conventional form of arbitration, which is paper-based since past more than 40 years. I look forward to meet and collaborate with people and the teams to develop a system for easier and faster resolution of disputes. Being at FICCI has been a strategic advantage. So I think each of us would be benefited by each other by connecting. And then, yeah, I am strong on the legal side, but I look forward to being assisted or being part of teams which will have a lot of technical advantage so that we can build up better systems. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anchal. Wonderful to have you here. That was a great introduction. If you could just put in a small paragraph on the chat, it would be great. Let's keep going. Next to Anvita, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, hi, I'm Anvita. I'm founder of Sunvai, and at Sunvai we are building an AI platform that enables people with complaints to those who could resolve them. So that's the brief statement about Sunvai. Sunvai is in pre-launch stage. I stay in Bangalore, incubated in IIIT, and I come from purely technical background. So I have done a lot of work in machine learning, AI, published research papers, and I've done software for retail, banking, and so on, and now looking into legal data. So at Sunvai, we were purely processing the data for finding pattern in data. And now a step beyond, we are talking about the resolution. So I'm like very excited to be part of, and really keen to partner with people from the other side. So basically we can come together and solve the problem. Yeah.
Very exciting, Anvita. Very good example of like the way collaborations can be built. Let me just re-emphasize the opportunity is absolutely huge. We have to see it like that. So when we put together collaborations, let's think big. Let's keep going. After that, I would like to invite Arca Law. Would someone from Arca Law like?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, hi, this is Varsha Iyengar. I'm a partner at Arca Law, and we're two partners, me and Mansi Kumar. We're both from, obviously, the legal background. We're both lawyers. We have collectively 20 years experience in legal practice and ADR. We specialize in dispute resolution mainly, including arbitration and mediation. We also have in our team certified mediators who have had more than 20 years experience. And we mainly come from this background of contributing something to the dispute resolution design and process. And this intention is mainly because of our backgrounds, where we've worked even in the Supreme Court and arbitrations across the country. And also, I started with dispute resolution interests at Stanford, where I worked with the Gold Institute on dispute resolution designs. So we come with the background of deep interest in dispute resolution practices and ODR specifically now. So we are keen to actually collaborate with others who also come from a lot of technological backgrounds, because I think that collaboration would add tremendously to what we have to offer in terms of the design and format. Thank you.
Awesome, fantastic. Your introduction. Thank you so much. Let's keep going forward with introductions. Badri Vishal Kinhal, would you like to go next?
Yeah.
If you're not speaking, mute, folks, because there is some echo. Do mute if you're not speaking. Over to you, Badri.
Okay, I'm Badri Vishal. I'm from Bangalore. I've been a technologist for 13 years now and currently spending my effort in tech. My expertise are product development, business models, and design thinking. Currently, I'm working on creating a technology-enabled transcription service for arbitration. Could you hear that? There was some problem with the internet.
Yes, very clearly.
Okay, so currently I'm working on transcription service for arbitration, and we have built a small team, and we have a demo product already available. And as far as EADR is concerned, I would like to partner with someone with good vision of the consortium and offer them to plug my transcription service as well as product building experience if they feel fit. And if selected, I have the capacity to work full-time on this. So yeah, keenly looking forward to collaborate.
Awesome. Thank you, Badri. Folks, if you haven't already put your introductions in the chat, please do so. We don't want to miss anyone because we are going to create a database which we can share with all of you. Over now to Geeta and Sundar from CREC. Over now to Geeta and Sundar from CREC.
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, hi, this is Geeta here. I'm the CTO of CREC ODR. We've been in the business of developing cutting-edge ODR platforms for the past 18 years. The latest of our platforms is called CREC ODR, which takes care of complete online dispute resolution lifecycle with a comprehensive workflow engine that takes care of configuring the dispute workflow. And we also have additional features like notifications, email, SMS, timeline, progress bar, document generation, document management, collaborative document editing, private public caucus, discussion forums, notes, scheduling, SLAs are some of the features of our platform. And all of these can be configured to suit the needs of the workflow that is required for a given dispute type. That's about the product tech. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that great introduction. Good to have CREC involved. Please do put in your introductions in the chat as well so it can be shared. I'll continue with Kanchan. Kanchan Gupta, over to you.
Yeah. Hi, can I be heard?
Yes,
All right.
Kanchan.
Great. Hello, everyone. My name is Kanchan Gupta, and I'm a tech entrepreneur with experience in software program management and digital transformation. So, along with my partner Shalini Saxena, who had to leave because she had something else, who comes with about 20 years of in-house legal experience. Both of us are looking to do something in the space of ADR, and we're looking at this challenge to be a starting point. I am based out of Bangalore, and Shalini is based out of Delhi. So, yeah, that's that.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that introduction. Let's continue. Nitin, do you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Nitin Sudhakar. So I founded expertevidence.org, which is a legal web archiving and e-discovery platform. It works in very simple. We forensically capture and preserve the evidence from internet so that you can prove at a later point of time, even if it's not available in the internet. And currently I'm working with Sachin Mallan at HumLab, and I'm excited to be part of this challenge. And you can reach me out in my mail, which is written in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitin. Good to have you with us. Let's continue. Let's go. We've already done Pulkit, Anand. So let's go with Samir Kumar Shah. Samir, you want to go? Samir, do you want to maybe unmute before you speak?
Samir, I've unmuted your mic. Go ahead.
Okay, Samir, we'll have to depend on a digital introduction, textual introduction. So please go ahead and do that. I just want to continue going. Shant, can you go? Shant, would you like to?
Hello. Yeah. Hello. Hi. Am I audible?
Yes, Shant, you're audible.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Shant. So I'm a founder of LRC ADR, which is Legal Resolve Center for Alternative Dispute Resolution, and Legal Resolve, which is a lawyer aggregation and price and lawyer aggregation discovery platform. I have total 90 years of experience, primarily into management and into technology. So what I'm looking for on this platform is that I'm looking for some technology partner and probably with some arbitrator as well. And I myself is a certified arbitrator, but I don't have that kind of deep experience into arbitration. I've shared my detail in the text box, so if anybody is interested, they can probably reach out to me.
Thank you very much, Shant. Let's keep going. I'm just following the A to Z. Let's go next. We'll go with Sudhindra. Sudhindra, would you like to go ahead with the introduction?
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, Sudhindra, we can hear you.
I am Sudhindra. I am a retired chief engineer of Karnataka Power Corporation, Bangalore. I am also FIE from Indian Institution of Engineers and also chartered engineer. And I am empaneled in many of the institutional arbitration centers in India now, with my expertise of more than 35 years of experience in energy sector. I would like to do something in arbitration now in engineering oriented issues. Any engineering oriented issues. I have a vast experience, but of course I am yet to do the arbitration, but I have a passion. And I have attended recently one certification course in IIAM Cochin for commercial arbitration. I am excited to continue this. What is your take on this?
That's great. Thank you, Sudhindra. I won't take any questions at this point in time, but as I said earlier to you, the idea of the initiative is to allow for arbitrators to plug into this platform and offer their services. So there should be opportunities that we see as a result of this institution. Even so, at this point in time, with your unique expertise in the technical side, if you're interested in applying to be a part of a team, if you're interested in joining a team that applies to build this institution, don't rule that out either. You can explore that. So do think about it, whether you want to both participate later on, but also participate in actually applying to build this institution. Let me continue. We just have a few minutes left. I'll go with Shrey. Shrey, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, Shrey.
Hello. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Shrey Gupta. I'm from advocate.in. At advocate.in, we fund lawsuits. So right now, we have been backed by all global players like Bentham, and they want us to use the capital to fund cases in India. We are very curious to see how this platform develops and if we can fund cases on the platform. That's all.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shrey. Great. I love the lateral thinking that if you're funding cases, what about funding cases that are being resolved through ADR? Really good thinking there. Great to have people bringing in different perspectives. Venkat from Cripsy.
Hi, this is Venkat from Cripsy Technologies. We are a technology solutions and platform provider, primarily using some of the emerging technologies like blockchain network. So we have used that to good effect for creating marketplaces and collaborative platform in the financial services and supply chain space. Though we have not directly worked in the legal technology space, some of our core team members, we have been associated with setting up the digital signature business and pretty conversant with Information Technology Act and the associated things. And obviously, by using a platform like blockchain, we see a great deal of benefit for creating a trusted platform across a network of collaborators and stakeholders. So that's basically the vision we have for this particular initiative. And obviously, we would want to kind of discuss and see if we can get together with people who are like legal experts as well as other consortium members to put together a strong front. And we are definitely interested as a technology partner. Thanks.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, let's go. I think it's the last, but I'll check after that if I missed anyone. Vivo 1804.
As a gender, Sundar from Crackodia from the phone.
Okay, great, Sundar. So I think you've already spoken, right? You're Vivo 1804. Okay, great. Have I missed anyone? Okay, I think I've missed anyone. That's fantastic. One last thing I will say as people finish their introductions. Samir, sorry that we missed you. I think there's a problem with your mic, but we got your introduction. It's fantastic. That's super clear. Just one last thing. Aside from the webinars, which will happen every week, we are doing some meetups, which are meant to be more thought leadership events. They're not really events only for the future, leadership events that we're doing around the future of ADR. We are extending that opportunity to attend those to people who attend the webinars. A little incentive that if you attended the webinar, then when these meetups happen in Bangalore, which is on this Monday, Mumbai this Tuesday, and Delhi on March 6th, if you're there in those cities, you're welcome and invited. So reach out to our email ID, eadrchallenge@humlab.in, or us on LinkedIn, or me on LinkedIn, or whichever way you can get a direct message to us. Again, EAD, let me write it down. We already mentioned that, but I'll just still put that down. So those of you who attended this webinar, to be clear, and who attend the webinars can get an invite to the meetups as well, which are meant to be like thought leadership, where you have industry leaders and stuff coming together to talk about that. But it's restricted to either people invited or those attending webinars who want to attend. So that's the little catch there, because we don't want to just open it up to someone who's not attending one of these webinars at the same time wants to plug into the meetup. There's got to be a really good reason if that's the case. So folks, we're almost at time. We have 8 minutes remaining. What I want to say to everyone just as we finish is that just quick follow-up items. Here are the follow-up items. One is we'll be putting up a recording of this so you can go back and listen to the recording. You can even share the recording with others that you feel could be a part of the consortium but weren't there today. Second thing we'll be doing is taking all the contact details and preparing a closed database that you can tap and you can reach out to people using that. So that's something we'll be doing. We'll also be taking any unanswered questions and answering those questions via an email, right? And Bhavin and I are also going to look at all the answered questions and see how we can maybe develop an FAQ that can help people so that the same questions don't come up again and again. Meanwhile, once again, do take a look at the consortium building guide, do see the specifications, do track the website on a frequent basis. If you haven't filled up the Keep Me Interested form, the I'm interested form on the website, then you're not getting the regular emails. Simple. So please make sure that you've filled up the form. If you've been getting the regular emails, particularly in the last 2 days, then that means that that system is working. Samir has a great idea. I don't think you need to prepare the database context. Just ask everyone to update in a shared Excel. That would be great. We've already taken contact details from you, so we might just dump them in and still circulate that and say, please fill it in, because we've done double. We don't want you to do double work.
But Samir also a little wary of sharing an editable Google Sheet online with the world. So
yes.
Yeah.
I think we are also cautious about that. So we may restrict it a little bit just to make sure that the information is just not that freely available. Badri says, can we just walk into the meetup? No, Badri, you'll need to write to the email address I gave and then get an invite for the Bangalore, Mumbai and Delhi meetups. That's the way it'll have to happen. WhatsApp group, wow, that is a really good idea. We will seriously consider that. Yeah, okay. Fantastic. We'll be having webinars like this every week. So if you missed out, you just want to plug in because you couldn't get a question and you want to be introduced to more people, even though don't forget, you will get access to the database. Or and you'll also be able to see the recordings. So you don't need to attend every single live, but that's something you can definitely do. But they'll be happening every week. We'll be announcing the next webinar by Thursday or Friday. We should have the date time for the next informational webinar up. Meanwhile, all the best. Please, if there is significant interest, do start doing your research, start reaching out, because aligning on a consortium takes time. We are mindful of that and we are listening to your needs and concerns. Okay. All the best. Thank you. Have a wonderful day and look forward to your participation in the EADR challenge and the creation of this initiative. Take care, everyone. Have a great day and a great week. Bye-bye.